Hey folks, Phil Gallagher here for the last round of daily D&T for this week. Again, this is the week that we are playing with the White Weenie deck list. Check out the deck tech from Monday for details. And if you enjoy this content, please consider donating to make it happen. $12 supports a week of daily D&T, and I will be keeping this hand. Maybe we'll go infinite this time. Who knows? Stitcher Supplier. Dryad Militant is kind of graveyard hate. Remorseful Cleric is probably going to be hot. I think I'm playing out my cards this game rather than trying to wasteland my opponent here. Hogaak can operate relatively well on limited resources, so I think I'd rather put this in here, and if my opponent is also playing Faithless Lootings in their deck list for some reason, or they have Cabal Therapies or something, I can get a little bit of value out of this. We're going to take the damage there. I don't want to fuel their graveyard anymore. They'll do it themselves. Yikes. So I might be playing towards an infinite combo here. Just play Ballista on turn 2, Heliod on turn 3. Actually, I guess if I want to play towards the combo, I need to play Anafemza this turn, so I can bolster Walking Ballista later. Because you need 2 damage on Walking Ballista to start things off. They only have 1 blocker, though, so maybe they would let me, like, get lifelink attack in. This is a game that I would have been much more comfortable if we were on the play for. Like, we're pretty likely to just lose to the aggro side of this deck. But we'll try. Uh-oh! So opponent is going to need to make a choice about how aggressive they are going to get with trying to combo off here. So I think I like blocking this and probably taking 6 damage. I think I want to keep the Carrion Feeder around because it's going to make comboing off via Altar harder. So I think I'm good with this. Alright, Bridge is scary. Bridge means that the Altar can do a lot more work. But if they start activating Altar, they do get further away from just killing me via normal means. And I'm not quite at hasty range yet for Bloodghast. I hope I don't have to play this Walking Ballista for x equals 0 to just clear a bridge. I would very much like to actually win this game. And I'm playing towards it. I'll need a land in my next 2 draws. Alright, here we go. Vengevines are scary. A Remorseful Cleric off the top also would be pretty cool. We have sent 1 therapy to the yard. Sorry, to the exile zone because of Dryad Militant. There's going to be Cabal therapies and Once Upon a Times at a very minimum. There could be a few other things. That's another bridge. So my opponent can fetch, return the Bloodghast, continue doing graveyard shenanigans, cast Gravecrawler as first creature per turn, right? I don't think there was another creature this turn. All right. We sent another. We sent Careful Study to exile. Yep. There's another Gravecrawler. Man, Remorseful Cleric off the top though. Really, so good. So there's another Bloodghast. Oh no, that's the same Bloodghast. It's just further up in the graveyard now. So Gravecrawler still represents at least 2 zombies, maybe more. So is my opponent going to sack these first? No, they're going for the Gravecrawlers now. I don't know if that's optimal because you could hit more bridges later on if you're like willing to continue to just like sack the zombies. But if you're not willing to continue to sack the zombies, then you just cast the Gravecrawler first. Oh wow, the Carrion Feeder is even going. So next turn, my opponent can return 3 Vengevines. So there's 12 hasty damage coming in. Plus potentially Bloodghasts. Opponent hasn't seen a Hogaak yet. Oh, there's one. So the Vengevines are back now. Thankfully, we're post-combat. I'm going to have to figure out whether or not I can actually survive next turn now. And also win. Because I can cast Heliod, but I don't have enough devotion. Opponent also has 10 cards in their library. I have to watch that. So they have a decent number of cards in graveyard. Since it took them so long to find the Hogaak, I'm not sure whether or not I'm actually just deterministically dead here. I probably am. Right? So 12, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. So my opponent can recast the Hogaaks. Yeah, I think I am deterministically dead here. So I'm going to go ahead and concede. For lulz, we would have hit the land. So we had turn 4 combo with this hand. Alright, good to go. Alright, so what do we have for Hogaak? Rest in peace seems great. Second Prelate on 1 seems okay. It might not be good enough. Like, by the time this comes down, I probably have other things I wanted to be doing. Ballista is great. Recruiter is more copies of Graveyard Hate. And Council's Judgment and Pithing Needle are worth considering, depending on what else I have going on. So, how am I winning? I am winning by attacking in the air, or by nuking my opponent's graveyards. So Dryad Militant, while like it's technically Graveyard Hate, it's not the Graveyard Hate that we want for this matchup. It stops Therapy, which like might be enough, but I think I'm probably gonna junk those. I'll keep these because they make Ballista better. Thalias are kind of whatever. Can probably trim at least one Force of Virtue. Maybe a second. They're good with the Hawks. Let's trim one of those instead. I'm not sure about that. This might need to be flip-flopped. So I'm pretty good against Graveyard. So like I have 6 pieces of Graveyard Hate, really 10 if you consider Walking Ballista Graveyard Hate as well. So I've got a decent amount of interaction. And a combo finish. But let's see how we do. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. My opponent may have kept a hand based on the strength of something like Wear Tear, though, so I shouldn't, like, celebrate too preemptively. But the fact that I have 2 different pieces of Graveyard Hate with different names is pretty huge here. Opponent has some sort of mana situation. I don't know if that's going to be they don't have enough colors, or if they're considering whether or not they can afford to fetch a basic. That's currently unclear. They also could have a green card and not the ability to cast it. If they do this. We shall see. A grab. That's fine. I might get no value out of this Rest in Peace for playing it out like this. That sucks. I had something like Abrupt Decay on my mind rather than Force of Vigor. I could have played around that card specifically by playing out Remorseful Cleric, but the Cleric would be so much worse against other things that my opponent could have to answer it. But if my opponent doesn't have a crazy turn, I can nuke probably a relatively large graveyard with Remorseful Cleric. Double Vengevine, double Bridge, double Crab. Not going to be playing Force of Virtue here. That feels good. That feels real good. We'll be holding the Force of Virtue until after I Squadron Hawk. No point of attacking Mom into some 0-2s. Target me. You bet. Note opponent is on triple Underground Sea. No access to green mana currently. That's going to be good next turn. So I can pitch a Force to a Squadron Hawk, then have a relatively considerable amount of mana. And I think play out the rest of my hand. I haven't done the math yet, obviously. It does kind of suck that this plays into Force of Virtue, but I still think it's correct to do this. Five mana. 2 of that will be for Athalia since it's disruptive. And 2 mana will be for a Remorseful Cleric for clock reasons, and as the backup for the Rest in Peace. I don't think I need to hold the Mom back to protect any of my threats. I think we're in turn him sideways time. What's going to exile? Hey, Hogaak. You love to see it. There are worlds where these crabs just mill me out. My opponent has 6 more cards. Milled, queued up. But I think I'm just presenting lethal next turn, so I don't think I actually have to worry about being milled. 7 mana. Hawk. Hawk. Vial. And I am just presenting lethal in the air specifically. Which is good because my opponent doesn't play flyers. Or is this 3? Am I exactly getting milled out? So that's 9 and another 9. That's super disappointing. But I'm going to let my opponent do it. I'm going to let them have that fun. All right. So I think under slightly more normal circumstances, we probably win that match, right? So like my opponent made 5 land traps in a row with triple crab as the way to beat through my 3 pieces of graveyard hate. So I feel like we went 4-1 with this. Whether or not we actually would have beat goblins if we didn't get stuck on mana, you know, that's an entirely different story. It's very hard to tell. This didn't necessarily feel like a bad list. Like, I did not feel like I was playing something that just did not have fight against what my opponents were doing. Every round, I played reasonable matches of Magic, with the exception of Goblins, where I just had mana issues in both games. Whether or not this list is like the correct starting point for trying a build like this, I have no idea. But it doesn't feel bad. There are going to be cards in this that aren't going to be good across the board. But if you're really looking to like try and keep playing something that's like Death and Taxes while having better game against the combo decks, like you could have worse starting points than this. Again, like, don't know about the sideboard, don't know if I should like actually have Swords to Plowshares in this deck to actually remove threats. Like, there's definite improvements to be made on this shell if you want to keep trying this out. But I hope this gave you some food for thought this week. All right, folks, I will be back next week with some more daily D&T. I hope you enjoy.